You're listening to FolkScene. I'm Allen Larmen, along with Peter Cutler at the controls. We welcome today's very special guest, coming from his home in Raleigh, North Carolina, Rod Abernethy.
As I drive into tomorrow and the miles keep flying by, with the stars above to guide me in this West Virginia sky, your love is like a beacon always guiding me back home. Like a wheel my mind keeps turning on this winding blacktop home. Yeah, just around the corner, just around the bend, just around the corner, I'll be holding you again. I'll be holding you again. Minutes turn to hours, the hours turn to days. The journey home gets longer every time I go away. I watch the late night moon falling from the sky. Soon I'll be walking through your front door, falling deep into your eyes. Yeah, just around the corner, just around the bend, just around the corner, I'll be holding you again. I'll be holding you again. Drifting through the headlights, the valley's coming into view. The early morning clouds with the sunrise peeking through. Tired of living through this windshield, wondering what new town I'm in. Soon I'll be wrapped up in your arms, your face next to mine again. Yeah, just around the corner, just around the bend, just around the corner, I'll be holding you again. Just around the corner, just around the bend, just around the corner, I'll be holding you again. I'll be holding you again.
Rod Abernethy on FolkScene. That's the lead song on his most recent new CD, Normal Isn't Normal Anymore. How you doing, Rod?
I'm doing great now, kind of out of breath. With that opening song, it always kind of takes me because I'm just huffing and puffing. I'm having a great time, though. It is such a beautiful day here in Carolina. But I got to tell you, it's covered in yellow pollen everywhere. You can hear it in my voice.
One thing I like about your new record very much, besides the great songwriting and your great performance on there, it's a really well-produced record, really well-recorded, and it just sounds so great. What can you tell us about your producer, Neilson Hubbard? How'd you meet him?
I found out about Neilson through Mary Gauthier. He did a record with Mary Gauthier, and it was nominated for a Grammy, I think in the folk category. And it was such a great record. And then he did another record with some friends of mine, Ordinary Elephant. And I thought, well, I wonder if I could work with him. I sent him some of my songs and stuff, and he was like, yeah, man, let's work together. And also, he's a great songwriter and a great singer himself, so I just sort of felt like we had a lot to work with there.
And you recorded in Nashville? Is that where you recorded the album at?
Yep, we did it in Nashville in his studio. I'm not sure if it's his studio now.
And you had some great musicians on here, like Will Kimbrough. Who else played on the record?
Some of the people that were just awesome. Michael Rennie was on upright bass, Dan Mitchell on piano, David Henry on cello, Will Kimbrough, who you mentioned. They all were just classic Nashville-style musicians. They came in and, wrote down a little code, listened to the song, and most of them were first takes. I was just amazed. But that's one thing Neilson was doing. He was trying to keep it going. Let's not stay too long on a mistake or anything. There might be something I wanted to fix. And he would go, nope, man, it sounds great. And he was right. It ended up, I'm really happy with what he did.
There's a lot of great spontaneity to the record, the way it sounds and everything. Now, you actually studied music at University of North Carolina?
I did.
Was that your first experience learning music, or were you playing music before that?
I was playing in music like so many of us were playing in garage bands in the late 60s. And my parents, I found out later that they wanted me to be a dentist and take over my dad's practice and go to college at dental school. And I went, no, I can't do that. And they said, what do you want to do? And I want to go to music, learn music at UNC Chapel Hill. And I ended up doing that, and I'm sure glad I did. Or I'd be probably pulling teeth right now somewhere.
What was their response to that?
Oh, they didn't like that. Like most parents, the first response was, well, we know you love music and you're really great at it, but how are you going to make a living? But of course, when you're in your late teens, you're not worried about making a living. You're trying to just do something you like. And, that's what I ended up in music. And lucky that I was able to make a living in music.
You start off playing electric?
I started off playing my brother's old K acoustic guitar. And my first guitar, I write about that in My Father's a Quiet Man, that he took me to a music store. And I didn't really know we were going to walk away with a new electric guitar, but he did. It was kind of a surprise.
Would you like to do that song for us right now?
Oh, sure. I'd love to. Last Christmas Eve I had a dream. My father was reaching out to me. He was standing near the fireplace. A younger man, I could see his face. He spoke to me and it felt so real. And we talked for hours there in my dream. My father was a quiet man, and sometimes hard to understand. In church when I was only 3, so tall he stood there next to me. He held a hymnal open wide. It was there his voice could ring a mountainside. We took a trip to Spartanburg in his 57 Thunderbird. We walked into the music store. He knew exactly what he was looking for, had an intuition about his son, somehow knew the man he would become. And in his own quiet way, he handed me my first guitar that day. Years ago, my brother passed away, and the angel spoke to me that day. When I walked into my father's house, he was standing there reaching out. He gave me such a long embrace. Quiet tears were falling from his face, and I learned how strong a man can be when death befalls the family. My father was a quiet man, and sometimes hard to understand. I look at him, I see myself in a photograph upon the shelf. I watch my son, now he's 21. A father someday will become, and I hope someday he'll understand how sometimes I can be a quiet man. My father was a quiet man.
That's a beautiful song. Rod Abernethy on FolkScene. Did anybody else in your family play music, Rod?
My brother played guitar and piano, and I guess he was 6 years older than me. So when he started playing guitar, and when he was 9 or 10, I was paying attention. So, and my dad didn't do a whole much. He had an accordion that he would pull out every once in a while, but he didn't really play much.
And you basically started off playing rock music, right?
I did. I remember watching the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and like a lot of people, that was inspirational. And then I started playing a lot of instrumental stuff in junior high, like the Ventures and the Shadows, and later on in garage band playing everything else I could get my hands on. Yeah, electric was my main instrument then.
And tell us about some of the rock bands that you were in that were signed to record labels.
The first major label deal was with the band Arrogance, and we were a Chapel Hill band. We played a lot in the South. I don't know if you heard of Don Dixon. He's a producer that produced the Smithereens and Marty Jones, and he was the bass player in that band, and they were just an incredible vocal rock and roll. I sort of say they're a pub band, but I hate saying what we sounded like. It wasn't hard rock, but it wasn't country rock or alt rock. It was just its own thing. And we got signed to Warner. I think Fleetwood Mac, Rumors came out the same week and got most of the advertising budget. But that was a great band. And I was with another band, Glass Moon, that was on Elektra. So we had some good times. You know how it is. Getting a record deal doesn't mean you're going to make a living. Just means you got your license to drive, basically.
And in Glass Moon, you changed your name. You reinvented yourself as Rod Dash, right?
I did. And then later, I worked on my own with Paul Rothschild, who lived in L.A. I'd met Paul through a friend. And Paul produced The Doors and Janis Joplin and Bonnie Raitt, and Paul and I worked for about a year trying to get my own deal. At that time, I was trying to be kind of a new wave something. I don't know what it was. You know how it is, going through transformations. And somebody said, you need to be on Star Search. You remember the Star Search days back in the 80s? Mm-hmm. And I didn't really want to do that, but I was getting sort of worn out trying to, play live and get my own deal. And I auditioned and I got on Star Search, and they brought me, and I had a band, and we played, and we had a good time. We stayed at the Rock and Roll Hilton, and they treated us like stars for a week. Then I lost. Then I went up to Paul Rothschild's house up in Laurel Canyon, and he said, Rod, I love you, but you just lost in front of millions of people. No record company in the world's going to sign you now. And I went, oops. So I went back home, and I decided to make a living in North Carolina. That's when I started composing.
And what song did you sing on Star Search?
It was called Jimmy's Out of Touch.
So it was original song?
Original song. I actually wrote it with a friend, Barry Webb, who was another rocker in North Carolina.
We're visiting with Rod Abernethy on FolkScene. How about another song, Rod?
Sure. How about a 12-string song? This is a tune that was on the last album, and it's about me catching 7 largemouth bass. I've never done that again in 30 minutes. And I was so taken by catching that many fish in a boat that I wrote a little soundtrack for it. And it's called Lucky Seven.
Fantastic. Rod Abernethy on FolkScene. That was part one of our visit with Rod Abernethy, recorded from his home in North Carolina. And it was just recorded just recently on April 8th of this year. We want to go to part two, but we don't want to hold you hostage, but we need to raise some money. We're in the pledge drive right now. So call us right now at 818-985-5735. We're going to go to part two to Rod Abernethy. Who are some of your influences on the guitar, Rod?
Many, because I love all kinds of guitar. But right off the bat, I guess you can hear Leo Kottke, John Fahey, and Michael Hedges, Paul Simon, James Taylor, in my acoustic stuff, which I just play acoustic now. I haven't played electric in a long time because I returned to acoustic guitar because it's my first love, really. You know, out of college, I was a folk singer before I joined Arrogance.
Would you say the more folk style music you play is truer to what you were about?
Yeah, I would. I wrote songs back then, but honestly, Alan, I felt like I didn't have a whole lot to write about back then. I mean, when you're that age, you're writing mainly kind of love songs. These days, I'm writing what I've learned all throughout my life. I feel like I've got more to talk about, more to connect with, and I can't stop writing. It's different now, if that makes sense.
We talked about your guitar influences. Who are your influences as far as songwriting goes?
Again, there's so many. It would start out with James Taylor, then Nick Lowe, John Hyatt, Tom Waits. That's kind of endless. I mean, I'm influenced by almost everything that I hear one way or the other.
Now, you've been making music in North Carolina for almost like 4 decades. How has North Carolina influenced your music style?
That's a really good question, because you're always looking, or I've always been looking on the horizon at what other people are doing. And a lot of that, I think, was coming out of LA or New York or Great Britain. But there's so many great musicians that come from North Carolina. And of course, we have a really big bluegrass influence here, which I sometimes have told I sound a little country or bluegrass, and that's great because I grew up with that kind of influence. But North Carolina influencing me, I think I spent a whole lot of time listening to what a lot of other people were listening to back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And you could hear that on any radio. You could find that anywhere, in the country.
We're visiting Rod Abernethy on FolkScene. His new album, Normal Isn't Normal Anymore. He's coming to us from his home in Raleigh, North Carolina. How about our song, Rod?
Okay. How about the title track to the album?
Sure.
When I came up with this tune, it was before the pandemic and before COVID hit. And I was writing it because a lot of people that I talked to on the road were saying things were changing faster than they ever thought they would. And this was, almost 3 years ago. So I came up with the idea for this tune, thinking normal just wasn't normal anymore. And it just so happened that it worked out to be the same train of thought I was thinking about for the pandemic. So, and here it is, normal isn't normal anymore. Talking heads on my TV. Who can I trust? Who can I believe? I long for the days when true meant true, but normal isn't normal anymore. Early morning, I walk the streets. I feel the anger, I feel the heat. There was a time when anyone was welcome at the door, but normal isn't normal anymore. Whatever happened to the golden rule? Now who's the bully? Who's the fool? All is forsaken in this Wi-Fi world. Normal isn't normal anymore. Mothers and fathers, where does your heart belong? Your sons and daughters, who's teaching them right from wrong? Where is the village that helped raise me into a man? No, normal isn't normal anymore. Broken promises, manifestos, and tweets, spreading your hatred, your lies and deceit, hiding behind a smoke screen of fear. No, normal isn't normal anymore. How many times must I watch in disbelief? Parents in mourning and a nation in grief. What's more important than the life of a child? But normal isn't normal anymore. The world I once knew seems so far away. I'm running on empty in this lost highway. I feel like I'm drowning in the pouring rain. Normal isn't normal anymore. My world is fading. Will it ever be the same? Normal isn't normal. No, normal isn't normal anymore.
Rod Abernethy on FolkScene playing the title song off his new album, Normal Isn't Normal Anymore. Rod, give people your website.
It is rodabernethy.com, and that's ABERNETHY. And you'll find a lot of stuff there.
And can they purchase the music off the website?
You can. You can actually purchase steampunk robots off the website.
You have some illustrated here in the booklet, in the record, too, actually.
I do. That's something that I started doing in my spare time, and it ended up just being something I love to do. I go to flea markets and antique stores and get parts, and something I just really love doing.
How do you begin writing songs, Rod?
Well, I usually have a phrase, a verbal phrase, like the next song I want to do for you. I was walking downtown Winston-Salem, which was a big tobacco town in North Carolina. And they have these big smokestacks for the R.J. Reynolds Company, and it says R.J. Reynolds. They look like giants. And I looked at it and went, wow, that's when tobacco was king. So I put that up on Instagram, the picture of the smokestack with when tobacco was king. And a friend of mine, Susan Cattaneo in Boston, called me up and said, hey, we got to write a song and call it When Tobacco Was King. And so you end up with phrases. I'm writing phrases down all the time that I hear or people might say. And then I might have a, chord progression. So I've got hundreds of, little short clips of chord progressions like everybody does on their phone. Now that we can record an idea anywhere, anytime. And all of a sudden, you dig into it and you've got a song. Most songwriters, I think, have a similar process, probably. I'm not sure.
What got you off in the beginning to start writing songs? What was your impetus to start writing songs?
My first song I wanted to write for a girl that I had a crush on in the 7th grade. And I wrote her a song. I don't remember the song at all. I wish I did. I'm sure it was absolutely horrible. But I remember taking my brother's K guitar, that acoustic guitar, and singing it to her under her window of her house. I don't know if I've told my wife that story, but that was the first song I ever wrote. I was scared to death, but I felt that I just had to do it. I've told many people that music chooses you. You don't choose music. It's a calling. It chooses you. So I had to do it, and I kept trying to write songs. Honestly, I feel like I'm just now becoming a decent songwriter. It's taken me a long time, but I feel like I'm kind of getting the hang of it.
Well, how about doing When Tobacco Was King right now?
Okay. So here it is, When Tobacco Was King. Smoke in our lungs, stains on our teeth. We were so young, hooked on nicotine. Standing in the corner, waiting for the cool. Post-war kids, we were nobody's fool. Young America, in 53, we were gonna live forever like James Dean. We were slaves to the corporate machine. Back when tobacco was king. Lighting up a pack a day, Made a deal with the devil in every ashtray, breathing in pleasure on a lucky strike. All we heard were lies. Young America, so naive, we were smoking away our dreams while they lined their pockets with ashes and greed. Back when tobacco was king. They'll never stop. They'll never let us down. Why would they ever stop with so many jewels in their crown? Hey, you in the corner, vaping away. You think that you're so cool with no price to pay. We learned the hard way, now it's hard to breathe. We're all slaves to the corporate machine. Young America, don't be fooled. It's the same old devil coming after you, while they line their pockets with ashes and greed. Big tobacco's still king. Tobacco's still king. You better believe it. Tobacco's still king.
Rod Abernethy on FolkScene. Rod, you won some very prestigious songwriting awards. What can you tell us about that?
I have been very fortunate the past couple of years because when I started playing again, I decided about 6 years ago I wanted to get back on stage. And I had no idea that I was going to get this kind of reception. And I started playing Folk Alliance conferences all around the country. And I played one in Surfa, and I did my favorite Bob Dylan tune called Oxford Town. And they recorded it, the video for it. And then I saw there was American Songwriters Bob Dylan Song Contest. And I thought, well, I'll send that in. And so I sent it in, not knowing if anybody would ever hear it. A couple of weeks later, I opened the emails. They said I had won, and I was floored. So that was a really, wonderful thing. And this year I won the International Acoustic Music Awards for the song that you heard, My Father is a Quiet Man. Again, I was taken back that people were listening. And I've won other awards for my composing and stuff. It's funny, I don't really think much about that right now because I'm so focused on the new album and my acoustic guitar.
Would you like to do Oxford Town for us right now, Rod?
I would love to do that. My brother was a big Bob Dylan fan. That's where I first heard Bob Dylan, was from my brother, sneaking into his room when he wasn't there and listening to his records. But when I first heard Oxford Town, I didn't really pay attention to the meaning of it. I was in junior high, high school, and didn't realize what a powerful message it was. So later on, as I became more globally aware, I realized that it was a really strong song. So here's Oxford Town. Oxford Town, everybody got their head bowed down. Sun don't shine above the ground. Hey, I'm going down to Oxford Town. He went down to Oxford town, guns and clubs followed him down, all because his face was brown. Better get away from Oxford town. Oxford town, around the bend, I come to the door, I couldn't get in, all because of the color of the skin. What do you think about that, my friend? Me, my gal, and my gal's son, we got met with a tear gas bomb. Don't know why we come, we're going back where we come from. Oxford town in the afternoon, everybody's singing a sorrowful tune. 2 men died 'neath the Mississippi moon. Somebody better investigate soon. Oxford town, everybody got their head bowed down. The sun don't shine above the ground, I ain't never going back. No, I ain't never going back. No, I ain't never going back. No, no.
That was part 2 where I visit with Rod Abernethy, recorded just a matter of weeks ago, April 3rd of this month. As I keep telling you, we've got a lot of great shows that have already been recorded. Peggy Seeger, Larry Campbell, Teresa Williams, Tiffany Williams, Jorma Kaukonen. It's a cavalcade of stars right here at FolkScene. You can get Rod Abernethy CD, very limited amount of copies. They're autographed. Normal isn't normal anymore. $60 donation, or the FolkScene grab bag, $60 for one CD, and it's a great CD. And let's go to Rod Abernethy, part 3. And how'd you get into soundtrack and video game music?
When I came back from Star Search, I was trying to figure out, well, what am I going to do? And I was offered to manage a 24-track recording studio here in the Carolinas. And I took that gig, stopped playing on the road, and then I was able to write music. I had a place to go and record. And I started doing commercials, corporate film, and then independent film. Then all of a sudden I was doing video games. And for about 2 decades, I did over 80 video games. And I was working with orchestras. I even got to go to Skywalker Ranch and record with the Skywalker Orchestra. It was an amazing part of my career, getting to work with video games and compose. It's kind of weird to think about now.
How hard is it writing that kind of music?
I think any composition job can be difficult unless you have the right people to work with. If you have an audio director that can help you get the right direction and give you enough freedom to kind of put your own stamp on it. It's not that hard. It just can be difficult because it takes so much time. And my wife says that I was never home for 10 years. I was always at the studio, and I was. When you're writing 1 to 2 minutes of finished soundtrack work a day, you got to stay at it. It can be difficult.
Now, when you create that music, what kind of instruments do you play on, do you use to create that music?
I myself will create that music on a computer using samples, drum loops, different drum programs. I'll play live guitar on it. But if I need instruments, I will bring a musician in or bring a string quartet in or somebody that can play flute. Or if I need an orchestra, you go out and hire an orchestra and you record with that. But it's all done on computer and mixed down digitally, and then you send it off.
What do you think is harder, writing song lyrics or writing the instrumentation?
I think writing lyrics are so personal. It's really difficult sometimes to just open up your gut and write down what you're feeling. But also when you're composing, you're expected to bring emotion to what you're seeing and visually. That's why people hire you as a composer, to add that emotion. And if you think about watching anything that you like, TV show or movie, games, with no music in an emotional scene or an action scene, it's not as good. So there are different ways of hard. They're both difficult, but they're extremely rewarding.
We're visiting with Rod Abernethy on FolkScene, his new album, Normal Isn't Normal Anymore. What song would you like to do for us next, Rod?
Here's a song that I wrote. It just came. You were asking how do I come up with song ideas and stuff. This one just happened because I was having a hard day and things weren't just going well. One thing after another was going wrong. So I came up with this song. It's on the album. It's called It's Always Something. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that's a sing-along for all of you people out there that don't want to sing along. This is for you. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. There once was a woman that lived in a shoe. She had so many kids, she didn't know what to do. I asked her one day how she got in such a stew. She said it was something that I did or I didn't do. Every day I keep trying the best I can do, but it's always something that I did or I didn't do. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. There once was a man, he had a demanding wife. She left him one day, said he had ruined her life. In court the judge asked him, why she's so mad at you? He said it must be something that I did or I didn't do. Every day I keep trying the best I can do, but it's always something that I did or I didn't do. Sometimes I stand tall and sometimes I fall. Can't be to blame for not knowing it all. When trouble falls down from out of the blue, I'm only human, I can only do the best I can do. I get these letters from the IRS, and oftentimes it causes me to drink in excess. Can't keep up with it all. They say more taxes are due. Must be something that I did or I didn't do. I say out with the old and in with the new. It's always gonna be something I did or I didn't do. Every day I keep trying the best I can do, but it's always something that I did or I didn't do. It's always something, always something.
Rod Abernethy on FolkScene. How has your soundtrack work influenced your singer-songwriting work? Do they meet each other? How do they work together?
It's funny you ask that because it kind of dawned on me not long ago that when I do instrumentals on my guitar, I'm kind of doing soundtrack work. And the next song that I'm going to play will be an example of that. But thinking in soundtrack mind, you're not really thinking verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. You're thinking more linearly. You're trying to, score to picture. And sometimes people don't want you to have a melody underscore because that kind of gets in the way sometimes, especially with video games. You're not pushed to write a melody. They want music that will loop. So the player might be playing some scene for an hour, and that music's got to be able to loop and not be too repetitive. So the next tune that I wrote, it's on the album, and it's about our treeing walker coonhound, and she jumps the fence. I don't know how many of you have a dog that loves to leave the yard, but Maddie loves to jump over the fence. I've seen her jump over it many times, and it's 6 feet tall, and she can still jump over it. So after I watched her do this and had to go get her again, I thought, I'll write her a soundtrack. And it's called Over the Fence. Over the fence. There she goes.
Rod Abernethy on FolkScene. That's some great playing there, Rod. So what are your plans for the future?
I think that's a great lead in to the next song because what am I going to do in the future? I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing now. I'm writing a new album. I've got plans for a new podcast. I've got a lot of online shows coming up. I can't wait to play. Everybody can't wait to get out there and play. I think we're going to get there. It's just going to take more time than we think it is, but we're going to get there.
So how can people see your live shows, Rod? On Facebook?
They can go to my website and, of course, follow my page on Facebook, but look at my website and I'll have when the next show is coming.
And give people your website one more time.
It's www.rodabernethy.com, Abernethy.
Rod, it's really great to have you on the show. I really appreciate you being with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been a real treat. I just can't thank you enough, and thank everybody for listening. And this is a song I wrote about another year. Jane walks through the big city all alone, with a cardboard box and a blanket she calls home. Too hungry and too tired for tears, she begs to make it through another year. Joe signed up to fight the war overseas. They handed him a gun, said, now go fight for peace. Now he wakes up every night, sweating in fear, in a wheelchair that helps him make it through another year. Every face is a mirror, every face has a name. On the streets we may look different, but alone we're all the same. Mary's husband, John, is barely hanging on. At the end of his rope, their life savings almost gone. The treatments that he needs are at a cost so dear. She keeps trying to help him make it through another year. Diego tries to swim the river wide, never knowing if he'll make it to the other side. The voice of freedom keeps ringing in his ear, with the hopes his family can make it through another year. Every face is a mirror, every face has a name. On the streets we may look different, but alone we all look the same. I get in such a hurry, sometimes I lose my way. So many people come and go, and the years fade away. But in my life there's one thing that remains clear. Don't wanna face this world alone through another year. Every face is a mirror, every face has a name. On the streets we may look different, but alone we're all the same. Another year, together we just might make it through another year.
You've been listening to FolkScene, today's very special guest, Rod Abernethy. A big shout out and thanks to Kari Estrin for help setting up this program. I'm Allen Larmen, and Peter Cutler was your engineer. That was a great show. Rod Abernethy recorded April 3rd of this year from his home in Raleigh, North Carolina. And you can get a copy of Rod's CD autographed with your $60 donation by calling 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK, or online at kpfk.org.